Is success a question of innate talent or of nurture and skill development? We can offer and explore an answer to that question that is quite decisive, and yet that can also be illuminating in other aspects. And that answer would be that um, any and all developments that a person may hope to sustain, be they concern particular talents, be they concern some kind of other development, any such developments are um, developments of what need be already innately present in a given person. What are some obvious examples to make that obvious? It could be asked whether or not, for example, a person could, by any effort whatsoever, develop the capacity to fly unaided, as can a bird. And the answer is no, because a person is a person and a bird is a bird. There's nothing that I can do as a human being in order to ever be a bird and do what birds do. However, birds, it's not a guarantee that they'll fly. There's kinds like ostriches that don't fly in principle, but other ones, even could be injury, could be some kind of setback. But there's a hope for birds to fly because that's what birds do. There's nothing that a human being can do to develop the capacity to swim underwater like a fish without surfacing for air at some or another point. Nothing. I can train my lungs all day, and I can extend perhaps the amount of time that I can hold my breath to world record amounts or beyond, maybe 18 minutes, 19 minutes with pure oxygen, something like that, but not much beyond that, and certainly not to where I could, for years on end, swim about without surfacing, obviously without artificial aids. Why? Because I, as a human being, am not a fish. Well, a fish is a fish. So, by considering these differences amidst species, it makes it pretty clear that whatever capacities may one day be fleshed out and be potentiated, they're in reference to that which was there in some or another antecedent um, form, elementary form, the capacity to swim like a fish, the capacity to fly like a bird. Now, other things that are not so obvious may not be so obvious, and yet the same principle does seem to hold, as can be, for example, highlighted by the occasional unfortunate absence of a major capacity. For example, if something is missing, perhaps a child unfortunately can never learn to speak, no matter what. Just like most other animals cannot learn to speak. Something is missing. Um, a person can perhaps never learn to relate to others in a natural, organic way. Something is missing. A person can perhaps never be educated above the level of a 3, 4, 5 year old if there's intellectual disability. So we see if the converse is the case, if some capacity can be evolved in a given person, it would seem to follow that's because it was there in the first place. Now, is that bad news or good news? Well, it's good news if we think about it the right way. What's the wrong way to think about it? The wrong way to think about it is through the lens, or the unhealthy, at least, way to think about it is through the lens of pride, through the lens of self absolutization, which does not ask what are my actual capacities, but simply looks around in search of something that is alluring, in search of something that is attention grabbing, for example, and then seeks to add it on to my individuality. So, for example, I can see that um, the singer gets a lot of attention. So, irrespective of my innate capacities, I can strive to be a singer. I see that the mathematician is very good with numbers and is perceived as very smart and such. So I say I'm going to be a mathematician, irrespective of my skill. So through that lens, it is bad news that we can only become that which we are in inchoate form, meaning in undeveloped form. Because then, I want this and I can't be that, no matter how hard I work. However, if we look at ourselves through the lens of humility, right? Through the lens of giving, right? What can I give? What can I contribute? Then, of course, it's good news because it simply says that I can only, and my only task in life is to simply become in reality, in immediate experience, what I am in potential. Right? What I could be, I should be. Not what I can't be. I shouldn't be what I can't be. There's no ought there to speak of, right? You ought to be what you can't be. No, I ought to be that which I can be, that which I am already in principle, in potential. And there, in that case, I can consider myself critically and with humility and ask myself, what capacities do I have such that could be grown? What seeds do I have planted in the ground of my individuality, of my mind, whatever we would say, such that could grow into full oak trees or fruit trees and bear fruit, whatever analogy we prefer. Now, as it concerns those potential seeds, some of them are um, particular, right? Something such as a talent for singing. That's a talent. A person that has not that seed at the start can never hope to sing in a way that many people would appreciate, no matter how much he or she practices. That's a particular talent. That's a particular seed. Something like a great aptitude for some kind of particular field, such as mathematics. The same situation. Something such as exceptional athletic ability, the same situation. However, with or without such seeds, we all have the seed of our particular individuality that needs sprout. And that involves broad human development, right? Broad human psychological ethical development. I don't need to have some sort of attention grabbing capacity in order to strive to become everything that I can be, right? To become a well adjusted person, to become a good natured person, to become a person that cares about others and is looking to overcome his or her self centeredness. That is the yoke that is, or that, should we say, behooves all individuals with or without these particular capacities. And with the eye of humility, that is what we are looking to do. We're not fantasizing and saying, you know what, all of my self esteem needs would be met if only I was something that I could never be, right? If only I was a bird, for example. How amazing would that be? How much attention would I get if I could flap my arms and be a bird? How much attention would I get if I could be like that person, that person? Forget about that. It's who am I already in potential? Let me develop that. It'll be lesser than that of some others. It'll be greater than that of some others, but it'll be my own and it'll be true and real. And that's what makes it count. Thank you for listening.